welcome back to another episode of Neat Conversation. Keith, New England Whiskey, Austin, Moon's Tavern. Your unscripted YouTube show where we go all over the place. The intro changes every week. Last episode I talked about space. Today, we're going back to Game of Thrones. So, we mix it all up. The intro changes. We laugh. We have fun. And, of course, we have a neat conversation. So,
That's right.
How's it going, Austin?
It's going good, brother. It's going good, man. Just, busy. It seems like January has, flown by. If this year is kind of if this month is kind of a hint of what this year's going to be, it's going to be 2026 in no time.
See, I always feel like January is the longest month. I feel like it's been January for 2 years, but
it's to me it's flown by. And then also too, when you start getting, I'm getting ready to have a kid go to a different school, and it seems like once that happens, man, it just everything just accelerates. You know what I mean? As far as time, you just really don't have a game plan there. But anyway, so what we doing, man?
Well, I heard we were going with some of your favorite bourbon tonight.
Yeah.
I figured we'd go fancy. We'd box it out.
You fan?
We could go with some Bookers. Now, granted, my bottle was not in the box at that point. I already had it in my hand, so there was no bottle hurt shaken in the box. So
you know what? I'm actually kind of excited about this because of our palate being so different. I'm very curious to see what you got. Now, you had the Bardstown batch. I had the Bardstown batch. It was between this and the Storyteller, and we decided to go with the Bardstown. What's funny is I think on my other YouTube channel, a guy said something about the Storyteller's batch. So I need to check that one out again. But it's, I probably got at least 15 Bookers. So they're hard to keep track of everything. Because, they're all kind of similar to a certain extent, but they all taste different. You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird, I don't know. But
yeah, I got you. And going back to Storyteller and storytelling, was the guy that you were talking about with the Bookers, was he giving a rundivorous story or a different type of story?
A rendivinous? If you're going to make fun of me, at least say it right. It's rendivinous. No, he was just wanting me because, I did a whole lineup of Bookers where I went from 2018 to now, and did a whole bunch of different ones, and he just wanted me to throw that one in there to see what, how it would withstand to some of the other, the other Bookers. Of course, on mine, Granny's batch won over everything. And it's funny because, and this is how, taste is so subjective. If you go on a lot of other YouTube channels or whatever like that, and you look up the Granny's batch, a lot of people just, if just like what you just said before we got on film here, you said, well, I'm not as much of a nutty guy as you are. And, the Granny's batch is nothing but liquid peanut butter, man. That's just what it tastes like to me. It's really, really good.
I'm a big fan of peanut butter. Truthfully, when I make my toast, we were talking about our eating schedules too. But when I make my toast in the morning, I don't use butter or jam. I actually use peanut butter on it. I'm trying to get extra protein too, but I prefer just some peanut butter right there. So,
well, I'm very curious, and if y'all will indulge me, put in the comments what time do you eat breakfast and what time do you eat lunch? Because I don't think Keith is the norm. But you don't say what time you did. I'm curious if people, will kind of help me out here and see where it's at.
I think the caveat is how soon after you wake up do you have breakfast?
No, see, but I've known people that are, that are, they have an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job or whatever. They still get up super, super early because they go to the gym or whatever. You don't get up super, super early.
I get up at like 6:45.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good grief.
Some days I sleep till 8:30. But as my little friend here, Tyrion, says, I drink and I know things, Austin. So That's what it's all going to be about today. Drinking and knowing things. Breakfast is later. I'm also not a big breakfast fan. I could easily wait till 10:30, 11 and have a early lunch or a late lunch. I don't know how you want to refer it, but a late breakfast, I guess, and an early lunch. I'm fine with that. So
That's the way my wife is too. She is not a breakfast fan at all. She'll typically, get up in the morning, she'll have her coffee. She wants to sit in silence for until her coffee's done. And of course I'm like, hey, because I've been up, since 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, hey, let's go. She's like, you need to go somewhere. Leave me alone. I'm like, that's fair. I'll go to the store.
And everyone, that's why Austin posts his pictures at 5:30 in the morning, because he had to go somewhere. So he goes downstairs.
Got to go sit in my corner and post my pictures.
So, maybe we should talk some bourbon for a few minutes. Since we... I mean, hey, we're unscripted. We spent more time talking about food and breakfast than we have bourbon. But the one thing I really like, I don't really go into the back of it with the tasting notes. We kind of talked about that before. That I at least personally, I like to wait before I read any of the notes. But I have had this one before. But I like that each one of your bookers comes with a little card. It tells you about the batch. It tells you a little bit of a story.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, how can you not romanticize about that? How can you not, it's a story. It's real. The beans. I mean, you go to almost any of the distilleries that's in Bardstown or really any of the distilleries that's in Kentucky, and you're going to have a beam somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Heaven Hill, you got the beams. You go to Jim Beam, you got the beams. I think even I can't remember some of the other. I know Yellow Limestone. Is it Limestone Branch? They have a beam. Stephen Beam, I think. So I mean, the Beam family is all into whiskey and all different distilleries. So I mean, and that's what I love about bookers. That's what I love about the little books. But between the storytelling between Fred and Freddie, I mean, it's just you just can't help but like it. You know what I mean? And then plus too, I mean, I love the whiskey that's inside of it. So, like I said, I'm very curious to see what you get on this. So you tell me what you're getting on the nose on this one.
Well, I'm still trying to catch my breath from having to do a lot of talking and reading.
Hey, I just talked some to give you a break, so I don't want to hear the excuses here.
It was, I actually saw an old YouTube video of Chris Farley on one of the late night shows, and he did this whole running around entrance, and it was how long, and it did a countdown of how long till Chris Farley catches his breath. It goes to 3 minutes, it goes to a commercial break, and it comes back. It goes, and then the YouTube video stops, and it goes, for the record, he never catches his breath. That's how I feel like right now.
Good Lord.
But right away, I mean, I get what we were joking about earlier, but I do get a lot of that nuttiness. Typical what you're going to expect from this pour. So, trying to see.
Yeah, I mean, Booker's tends not to be overly complex.
Yeah,
which
I
really like that. I like it. It's just this is bourbon. I mean, it goes down that bourbon road of caramel, brown sugar. The baking spices, maybe even a little bit of pepper. Booker's is always a little bit sweeter. Knob Creek, Jim Beam, just in general, that whole small batch line just tends to be a little bit sweeter than, say, Old Granddad or whatever, because you got that rye, so you'll have some citrus in there as well. But I really like it. But go ahead. I was gonna say, I get that nuttiness. I think I'm getting more peppery as really the second prominent thing that I'm getting through there. I get the baking spice, the brown sugar, the caramel kind of towards the back end for me. Usually when I talk about these, I say I don't try to be that guy that always says caramel up front, but for me, I get that caramel significantly later than I generally say that I'm getting on my tasting notes. But that nuttiness is what really comes through, and I agree with you that it's a consistent flavor across your board. I tend to gravitate towards a little bit more waves. This is kind of one note, but not in a way I would say one note is bad. It's not, like you said, overly complex. It's consistent. It's when you buy a bottle of Jim Beam product,
you want and what you're expecting from it. And I think that's something that's great too, because you have a lot of variance sometimes in other products, and it's good to sometimes also have the ones that are consistent. Yeah, the batches change, your proof points are gonna be altered a little bit. Not every Booker's tastes the same, but I definitely think there's an enjoyment in knowing kind of what to semi expect in some of these, because price point on a lot of bottles have gone up, and sometimes you're now paying $150 where last year you were paying $100. And sometimes you said, well, last year's batch was pretty different than the year before. I don't know if this batch is going to be worth the additional $50, but I think with these, you kind of know what you're getting in a sense. And I think that's actually a redeeming quality.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's very consistent on some of for most of the notes. And then you have just little detours, right? I mean, so you're going to get that caramel, you're going to get that brown sugar, you're going to get that rice spice, you're going to get some of that nuttiness, right? But then sometimes there's a little bit of detours where you pick up fruit along the way. You stop by a fruit stand, you pick up some fruit, or you'll go over here and pick up this or that or the other. It's kind of cool. And then, I mean, this one is a 6 year, 5 months, and it's 125 proof. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy this one. This is my only bottle of this one. So once this is gone, this is gone. I mean, I would probably say that I'm a Booker's fanatic. You know that. You've been to my house. You've seen how many Bookers I have. It's stupid. But I mean, I just really enjoy them. This is my taste profile that I really, really like. But I really like the nuttier, distilleries like the Heaven Hills, the Jim Beams. I mean, they just fit in my palate in that pocket. I really enjoy that. But yeah, this one is just like what you said. I mean, it's not overly complex, but it's taking you on that train, on that intense train. It's not just I think I kind of got it. It's very intense of what it's going down. Now, I got to ask you a question.
No, I'm gonna ask mine first.
Okay, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I'm so demanding.
You are that.
So you said yours is 6 years, 6 years, 5 months. I see it now. I just saw the 6 years and 0 days. I missed the 5 months next to it. So I was going to say, is yours randomly older than mine? But now I see it. So I don't have a question anymore. So you can go first because I'm being nice.
There you go. Well, no, I was just going to ask you on the taste. Sometimes with some of these Bookers, and I especially get it on like the country ham, and it's really hard to describe. The best way that I can describe it is that it almost tastes like a carbonation in it. Do you kind of get that? And it's kind of a weird, and that might not even be the right definition of it, but it almost has, I don't know. I feel like it has like just kind of a carbonation note to it. I really get it when I do the country ham. This isn't as predominant as the other one, but I was curious if you got that too, or that's not even hitting you at all.
Yeah,
no. Do you understand what I'm asking? I mean,
yeah, I'm not really getting anything like that at all. Maybe it's the combination. Like, I mean, I definitely get the baking spice to it. Never, you can create a little fizz with some vinegar and baking spice, but I don't know, like maybe, you just kind of get that bubble up, maybe the little more viscous or something that's really pulling it through. But I don't really get that same feel that you were just describing. But I will say, for those people who aren't as familiar with Booker's releases, when I was reading the description, I obviously talked about, I read about that the family did, ham dinners and they smoked it right there in the backyard. But I was going to say, before you even brought it up, that I like how the batches always have a homage, and there is a release called Country Ham. So, Austin does like to smoke his meats. If you ever follow his Instagram, he's always posting them, but he's not talking about food per se in this. He's talking about a different Booker's release on this one.
That's right. I always thought about trying to do some of the country hams or smoke a ham to do it from ground zero and up. But man, it's just that takes a lot of time. I don't have the house to be able to put that, outside to be able to do it. They said that, if you go to Jim Beam, they said that Booker used to hang his meat inside of the daggone rick houses. so it would absorb some of the, the flavors and stuff like that of, going into the rick houses. And if you've never been into a rick house, my God, that's if I had to envision what heaven smelled like, that's what heaven would smell like. I mean, it's just such a strong, sweet oak. I mean, that's another thing that I get on Booker's too, is the oak. But yeah, I mean, it's just a heavily smell.
Yeah, I mean, and like you were saying, if you've never been to a rick house, you definitely got to go. You'll probably, if you see Austin at the rick house, like we talked about with the Heaven Hill episode last time, you'll probably see people avoiding him because he's going to the bathroom or running and ducking and hiding. That tends to happen at rick houses too, but only with Austin. Everyone else is friendly to everyone else.
Everyone else, is talking to each other. Like, all right, don't talk to the fat guy. There he goes. All right, daggone wheel. That's funny.
I had to make that joke. You're already doing the rendifinous. See, it's my dyslexic. I don't know if I'll ever be able to say it properly. But when I make fun of you, that's how it is.
It's all good. It was really bad at the time, so.
Yeah, it's all right. But yeah, I mean, Austin, I don't know how accessible it is for you to move your device, but if you wanted to show everyone your big Booker's wall, because it is around the corner at your place, you can't even really see it from where you are. I think, because you were talking about all the releases and how big of a Booker's guy you are. That could be something cool too.
I will tie it in. I will tie it into the video. Like when you're talking about that, I'll do a cut and show it that way, so I don't have to. Because I'm afraid that if I move it, it's this thing's temperamental. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's in its spot. We'll just leave it in its spot.
I got you.
No, but this is dang on. I mean, Booker's is such a nice pour. Something to go great into a weekend. I mean, it's one of those ones. I mean, around me, it has not gotten up to the $150 mark. It's still like $99, I think. Excuse me, like 99 or whatever. But I mean, I live in a controlled state, so they really can't pump up the prices like that.
Yeah, we're a little over 100 here. Not crazy. I mean, we're not at 150 on Booker's by any means. I was just throwing out random numbers when I said that.
Okay.
As an example, but yeah. I was just saying that like everything nowadays is going up, so it happens though. But we'll definitely save it probably for another episode because it could be a big topic. But there's that whole conversation going around about, is the bourbon boom over? So we've seen the prices steady increase. Is the prices gonna go down? I don't know.
But yeah, this Booker's, like I said, my favorite's probably Granny's Batch. But hey, dipping back into this one, this is really, really good. Some other things that I'm starting to learn about myself too, and I say I'm learning this about myself. I know this too, and I'm sure that you agree. It's very interesting when you start singling out different bourbons and you're not putting them up against things. Then you like really start respecting more of, because you really get the nuances of only that. So some of the ones that, and I've kind of done that in my bar, some of the different bourbons that I'm like, I don't know if I really like this one or that one or whatever. And then I get it by itself and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I never really picked up on this note or that note, or I'm really enjoying this, or I'm not really enjoying that one, and I thought I liked that one. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think sometimes, though, like you were saying, when you do something side by side, it could change your perception. Like you're saying Granny's Batch is your favorite, but if you do Granny's Batch and Bardstown Batch, and all of a sudden you're liking the Bardstown Batch better, does it make you second guess it? But the other tricky part of that is when you're drinking the two side by side, they might have different profiles, they might have different things built in it. So yeah, if you try Granny's Batch first and then Bardstown Batch second, and you like Bardstown Batch first, but then you do it again in a week and you do Bardstown Batch first and Granny's Batch second, does it change because you have different notes already on your palate the second you try it? So there are factors that come into it: the time of day, what you've eaten, everything about it is definitely a factor. So it is fun to do them. I'm a big fan of doing them. I do them all the time. But it definitely does have an effect on what else you've put in your body before you do it or right when you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I did mine, just to kind of, make sure that that Granny's held true the whole entire time is that I would do only 4. Well, the last of them I did 5, and it was, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it was fun, but it was stupid hard. I mean, it was really, really, really hard. But so when I went back into the years, I would do 4 of them. And then I would, pick it between those 4 and then go to another 4 and then go to another 4, then go to another 4 until I finally got to the end. And I was impressed with the Booker's Reserve because I really thought that the one that I picked for one of my whiskeys of the year this year, I thought that was going to blow the Booker's Reserve away. But during that flight fight, I mean, it really held its own. But yeah, this Bardstown's batch is really, really good. I'm very curious to see what people's favorite Booker's batch is. Drop a comment, let us know. I'm always curious on that question, just because Grady's batch got so much hate on some people. Country Ham is like this, thing that's put on a pedestal, and I'm just like, it's okay. Beaten Biscuits is another one, put on a pedestal, and I'm like, it's okay. I mean, I like it. I'm not taking nothing away from it. But it might be in my top 10. I don't know. It probably would break in my top 5, but not my top 3.
Pigskin batch is another one that people talk pretty highly of too. So
yeah, I mean, the one that I really wish I would have gotten is the Sip a While. That was like right before I got into bourbon. I think that was like 2017, and I got in like right into 2018 time frame. So I've got a kitchen table that's a 2018, and I typically always buy the Booker's batches when I see them. But yeah, I wish I could have tried the Sip a While. I've tried the Booker's 25th, the Booker's 30th, but still, even with that, from my memory, the Granny's batch still was better in my opinion. The Booker's 30th was more like the Granny's batch because it was more of that peanut butter type of flavor. Which I really dig, but anyway.
I mean, I will say, like, we always talk about the peanut notes, or I should say, more so talk about the peanut notes that I get with these, but sometimes I get more of a peanut brittle, which, isn't all that different, but it can be a little bit different. So it's not always just like straight peanuts. I get those differences there too, so.
Well, cool, man. Well, I'm glad you picked this one. Like I said, I haven't had this one in a while. It's really delicious. I would highly recommend if anyone sees any Bardstown batch rolling around, which you probably won't since it's 2021. But you never know, man. Sometimes these stores will keep them in the back and then just pop them out. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, I definitely would say that. You know what? I remember now. I did buy one of these and I bought a backup because I liked it so much.
Yeah.
But it's just one that, like I said, when you've got so many of those additions, it's really hard to hone and tone them, out. Because it's not like every day I'm going to be like, let's do a Booker's flight. My wife probably wouldn't appreciate that no more. She'd be like, all right, get your Booker's drunk tail out of here.
Definitely.
But anyway, well, cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, we just got beamed up.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking some time. And the second you said beamed up, now I'm gonna have to watch Spaceballs tonight, just so I can say, beam 'em up, Scotty. Why didn't anyone tell me my butt looks that big?
Well, cool, brother. Well, till next time, man. Appreciate you.
The next time. Cheers, everyone.